Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Jeremy aka Uzaru Jarambe back again with another video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. In this video, we're going to be talking about tips and tactics for taking on Extreme Super Battle Road, with it just recently coming to the global side. There's been a lot of people that have been asking some questions about what units to bring, support items, team builds, and stuff like that. So we'll be talking about all that stuff here in a minute. But real quick, I just want to let you know, I do have a Discord chat as well as some other social media pages. Links for those are down in the description below. If you want to go ahead and check those out, support me over there, I'd really appreciate that. And definitely join the Discord chat. Got an awesome community of people playing Dokkan Battle and Dragon Ball Legends. Always a fun place to hang out and chat with everyone and get any help if you do need it. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, that notification bell to stay up to date on future content like this. Drop a like on the video and comment down below with any questions or comments. And if you need specific help with team builds based off of what units you have, because that will obviously make a difference, that Discord chat is a great place to get help for those team builds. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop over to the Dokkan Wiki. So you can see some stats I've got to the right side of the screen, and we're going to be talking about all of those little icons here in a minute. Of course, we've got the Extreme Super Battle Road here over on the Dokkan Wiki. Shout out to the Dokkan Wiki, lots of information. They have a tactics page as well, so if you want to know which units to bring in, they break that down. I'm not going to be talking about actual team builds today because they do talk about, you know, the main teams that they recommend, like one specific team. But basically what I'm going to talk about is general things you want to look for with your characters, just in case you don't have all of the units they're talking about on that tactics page. Hopefully you can see some of the units that you do have that have some of these abilities that will help you to clear these stages. So you can see here that they've got all of the Extreme Super Battle Roads laid out as far as what enemies you'll be facing, the friend lead unit, and everything like that. So on the global side currently, we only have the type Super Battle Roads. So basically we have stages 1 through 10, which is, you know, all of the, you know, Super Tech, Extreme Tech, Super Int, Extreme Int, and so on and so forth. The JP side, of course, does have the 5 new stages with some other things, or sorry, the 10 new stages with some other things there. Not too bad, but again, we're not going to go super in depth on that. But instead, again, shout out to the Dokkan Wiki. If you want to look at some specific team builds and units that they really recommend, you can go over there. But let's go ahead and start out by talking about some important things that you will need to look for in the units that you bring in here. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is damage reduction. So you can see on the top right over there, I'm going to be kind of going from the top of the screen on the right side down to the bottom as we're talking about this. So the first thing you're going to be looking at is damage reduction. So you'll see units like this Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. So he is a great example of damage reduction, and you can see in his passive skill when he's Extreme Z Awakened, he reduces damage received by 80% from 10 turns from the start of turn, or for 10 turns from the start of turn. So for 10 turns during your Super Battle Road, he will unconditionally reduce any damage received by 80%. So that is really helpful, because one thing that a lot of people might not understand about Super Battle Road and Extreme Super Battle Road is you need to be able to deal some damage, of course, but I think even more important than dealing a lot of damage is being able to mitigate a lot of damage, because if you take the super attack in the wrong spot, or you have a unit that doesn't have any tankiness to them, then you won't make it far enough to really do anything. So this Vegeta is a great example of that passive skill, one of the best units when it comes to reducing damage received. And yeah, you want to be able to make sure that you bring in units that have high defense stats. They're tanky, they reduce damage received, and things like that. And we'll kind of skip ahead a little bit on the bottom, or the right side of the screen too. We'll talk about stunning, which is also super important. You can see that the Vegeta has the ability to, he has a high chance of stunning, which is a 50% chance to stun the attacked enemy with his super attack, which again helps with that damage mitigation, because they won't be able to deal any damage for the turn that he attacks them and for the turn following. So that's really helpful. Again, damage mitigation is going to be a big thing that you'll be able to see on this breakdown here, on this little guide that I'm making for you guys. So And if you can get multiple of those things on the right side of the screen in one unit, then it's even better. And that's why this Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is really great for that, because he both stuns and reduces damage. So he's just a really good damage mitigator, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is going to be Evasion. So as we talked about, reducing the damage that you get received, or mitigating damage received, goes along with Evasion. So we'll look at a unit here. We've got the Int Hercule, who has some evasion built in without any sort of hidden potential build. So you can see here he does have stunning as well, a medium chance to stun the enemy, which is a 30% chance. So that's really good there. And then and you can see he's got a couple of different super attacks here. He's got with TN, he has another super attack there, but it's the same thing with a 30%, or sorry, medium chance to stun the enemy. So anyway, you look in his passive skill, he has a high chance to evade enemies' attack, including super attack, and he also, again, has that damage reduction built in, damage received by 50% to 90%, the less HP remaining, the less damage received. So this is also another really good unit to bring in, but again, we already talked about damage reduction, but right now we're going to be talking about his chance to evade. So he has a high chance to evade enemies' attacks, including super attacks, which is a 50% chance. And again, you're going to be able to mitigate some of the damage received, and it'll help you to survive longer. Basically, if you can last until the Dokkan attacks as well, that'll be really helpful, because that's basically a free Sensu Bean, or not quite a Sensu Bean, depending on how much damage you get off, but it's free healing. So that's really good there, and it is an attack all. So getting to the Dokkan attacks is really nice, and basically he's going to help you do that by mitigating a lot of that damage through his damage reduction, but again, we're focusing on that evasion here. And there are plenty of units that have these abilities. The basis is I want to show you guys these so you know what to look for and build your teams based off of this. So let's go ahead and hop to the next one, which is going to be, we'll be talking about, real quick, we'll talk about damage, attack and defense reduction. So for example, this Strength Rose here, you can see in his passive skill, super class enemies have an attack and defense minus 20% just for this Rose being on the team. Again, there are other units with this ability, but the point is that just for him being on the team, if you're facing super class enemies, which if you're doing, versus super Fizz, which this Rose would be great against, then he's going to be able to lower their attack and defense by 20%, so they won't be able to take as much, they won't be able to tank as much damage, and they won't be able to deal as much damage. So again, this helps you out in both mitigating damage and dealing more damage to the enemy units, and that's super helpful in Extreme Super Battle Road. So that's something you want to focus on. Look for units that have that attack and defense reduction built into their passive, and it'll be really helpful again for dealing more damage and mitigating damage that you get received. So, and then you stack that, on top. If you had this Strength Rose with a unit who had damage reduction, well, then that unit's going to be nearly impossible to kill, because he's going to be taking away their attack, and you're going to be already reducing some of the damage you're getting dealt. So therefore, it's just really helpful there. So let's go ahead and talk about the next thing here, which is going to be healing. So we'll talk about having HP recovery here, which is going to be with the example unit I'm bringing up here, is the Extreme Tech, the Goku Black and Zamasu, or LR Rose Masu. If you see his passive skill, he recovers 15% HP at the start of the turn when he comes out. So that's just 15% HP for free every time. Now there are some units as well that they give their super attacks give HP recovery as well, So the cool thing there is that, there are plenty of units that it says they'll recover a certain amount of HP when they deal a super attack, and then it's just really helpful because you don't have to use support items and you get some HP recovery. Now, mind you, when I'm talking about these units, real quick, just a side note, when I'm talking about these units, these specific units that I have as examples, they're good units to bring in, but they may not be the best option depending on what units you have in your box. So just keep that in mind, but the HP recovery is the main thing I'm just focusing on here. So unconditionally, this LR Rosemasu gets 15% HP recovered at the start of turn. If you stack him with some other units that do that, I know there's like the Tech Cell has HP recovery, and there's the Transforming Frieza. There's some other Tech Majin Boos. They'd be really good on a team versus Super AGL. If you had them, if you can sprinkle them in on your teams, because they will do HP recovery. Some of them have damage reduction and stuff like that. So HP recovery is really helpful because, again, it's going to keep you alive for longer, and stacked on top of all the other things we've talked about, it's going to be really helpful. So again, you want to try to get as many of these skills built into your units, super attacks, passive skills, and stuff like that, because it's really going to help you to survive and make it through the stages. So we'll talk about the final thing, which is going to be sealing super attacks. So we have this free-to-play LR Saiyaman combo with Saiyaman 1 and 2. You can see with the 12 to 17 key super attack, which is the Twin Justice Rush, they seal enemy super attacks guaranteed. So if you hit that 12 to 17 key super attack on an enemy, they are guaranteed to seal their super attack. Therefore, you'll be able to get less damage dealt to you. And then another cool thing you can see in the passive, this is actually a very good unit for something like this. Super class allies get Ki +4, and they get a defense buff of 50%, and then he also gives extreme class enemies defense minus 70%. So with this unit, he does have LR stats as well, so it's going to be a tanky unit. He's going to be able to seal enemy super attacks, and he's going to be able to reduce the enemy's defense while giving your superclass allies some buffs. And then you can see in his 18 key super attack there, just a little side note, he also has the chance to raise superclass allies attack by 30% when doing the 18 key super attack, which is nice as well. But again, sealing enemies super attacks. So the thing is stunning the enemies is not always guaranteed with, there's very, very few units that have guaranteed stuns for enemies, but a lot of the units have this where it doesn't tell you a chance to seal enemy super attack, but it says seals super attack. So you're guaranteed that whatever enemy gets hit with that, in this case the 12 to 17 key Twin Justice Rush, they're going to have a sealed super attack and they're going to deal less damage. Now, still remember, in Extreme Super Battle Road, there are some enemies, the enemies will still hit very hard even if they aren't doing super attacks, so just be careful with that. But those are all of the big things that I want to bring up when you're bringing units in and building teams. These stats, these passives, these super attacks, these abilities that I've got on the right side of the screen are very helpful, and they're going to be what is going to get you through the end of the Extreme Super Battle Road. So be very cognizant of bringing in the right units with the right skills to make sure you get that taken care of and beat the event. So let's go and talk about the next thing, and it's going to be the final thing as well. I don't want to keep the video too long, but basically we're going to talk about support items. So what support items should you bring in? So there's a lot of support items, and I know a lot of people, they like to bring in a Senzu Bean and a Dende because, well, that recovers all HP and it removes all status effects. But the main ones that I'm going to focus on today have some special reasons why. So I'll go from the top down. On the top right of the screen, you can see we've got the Android 8 and the Princess Snake. So the really good thing about both of these units is they do two things for you. The first thing is they're going to recover some of your HP, and they're also going to give all of your allies a defense buff. Now, the Android number 8, for example, he recovers 70% HP, so it's not quite a full HP recovery, but 70% is a good amount, and then again, all of your allies get defense plus 50% for 2 turns. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, go through here and find the Princess Snake, she does something similar, but it's going to be a little bit different. You can see here, Princess Snake recovers 55% HP, and the damage received is reduced by 30% for 1 turn. So if you have to bring in only one of these, the Android 8 is better because it is a bigger HP recovery, more damage reduction, and then you have 2 turns where that works. But again, if you don't have the Android 8, the Princess Snake works as well. So getting extra damage reduction built in with the passive or with the support item, and then having HP recovery with the support items are really, really nice, and they can help you survive some turns. So the next line, I guess, the next 3 we can see there on the right side of the screen, we've got the Usher, the Ghost Usher, the Baba, and the Pilaf. So those guys are basically, so the Usher is the main one that we're going to focus on first, because if you look here on the Ghost Usher, of course, he delays all attacks from the opponents for 1 turn. So if you have a lot of attacks coming in and you need to just survive 1 more turn to get a Dokkan attack off or something like that, then you can use that and it'll help you survive. If maybe you don't have a good rotation where some of your units aren't as tanky or anything like that, he can delay all opponent attacks for that turn and help you survive to the next. And then the Baba and the Pilaf basically do the same thing, where they just reduce all opponent attacks to super attacks. So basically they seal super attacks. They reduce super attacks to normal attacks. So they basically seal super attacks is what that is. So not too bad there, but remember, even normal attacks can do lots of damage, so you got to be careful with that. So let's go ahead and focus on the next line, which is the Whis and the Icarus. So basically they only do half of what it's same concept as the top line with the Android 8 and Princess Snake, but without the HP recovery. So Whis gives damage received reduced by 40% for 2 turns, and Icarus does 35% for 2 turns. So really good. Again, you don't get the HP recovery, but you can make sure that you get some damage reduction on all units and help you survive to the next turn. Nothing too crazy or anything you really need to talk about more than that. They just really help for the 2 turns to tank some damage no matter what units you have. But remember, even sometimes getting your damage reduced by 40% or 35% could still hurt quite a bit. But those are really helpful when you are doing these, so make sure if you have those, you can bring those in. And then the final line we're going to be talking about is the Nurse Chi-Chi, the Mouse, and Shamo. I don't know if that's the correct way to pronounce that, but anyway, what they're going to do is they're going to reduce all enemies' attack and defense by a certain amount for a certain amount of turns. So the Nurse Chi-Chi does the most because she reduces all enemies' attack and defense by 74%, but it's only for 1 turn. And you can see here it says, note, the effect does not stack when used more than once. So she is able to reduce attack and defense for the enemies, so they're not going to deal as much damage to you. They're not going to be able to tank as much damage, and that'll help you as well for surviving some turns, or because they won't be hitting you as hard, and also help you deal some more damage and penetrate past the enemy defenses a little bit better. And the Shamo and the Mouse, same concept, but the Mouse does 40%, Shamo does 30% for reducing attack and defense, but the Mouse and Shamo do 2 turns rather than 1 turn like the Nurse Chi-Chi. So those are really helpful to bring in as well. All of these support items on the right side are really good. There are a few other ones that are decent, but these are the main ones that stick out to me to say, hey, if you have these, make sure you're bringing them in. I know it's tempting to want to bring a Senzu Bean or a Dende in, but not really for, the Android 8 is, in my opinion, really a lot better to bring in instead of a Senzu Bean, because not only do you recover most of your HP, but you're going to take less damage for 2 turns. So just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much everything I've got to talk about today. Tried to keep the video as short as possible. Hopefully you guys did find some useful information in the video today. If you did, go ahead and drop a like. Comment down below if you have any questions or comments, or if you need any further help on this stuff. Make sure you go ahead and check out the links in the description below. I have that Discord chat. We got plenty of awesome people. Again, we can help you with team builds and stuff like that. If you also want to check out any of my other social media pages, support me over there. I'd really appreciate that. The links, again, are down in the description below. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're hitting that red subscribe button, that notification bell to stay up to date on future content like this. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming by and checking out the video today. Best of luck on your Extreme Super Battle Road. We will catch you on the next video. Signing out.